I got into this. I got into the Selectman business 3 years ago. It was everybody remembers the ice storm. We reference it often around here. It was a huge event. It changed a lot of lives and a lot of the way we do business. And I'm no different. During the ice storm, we were without power. We were one of those 12 days without power families on the edge of town, and we immediately took off afterwards. And then we had a problem with a local utility bill. So we appealed to the town, we appealed to the utility, we appealed to the state, and it fell on deaf ears. And it was very disheartening for me and my wife Jen and our very young family. We basically were told, pay your bill or we're shutting your power off. And no one was listening to us, so instead of sitting around and complaining or getting on and blogging and commenting, I decided I was going to be part of the solution. So I took papers out, I got myself a couple hundred signatures and went door to door shaking hands and said, I'm not running as a politician, I'm running as a guy that is very concerned about representation at any level of government, and I can do the best work locally, so I thought I'd be a good fit for local government. And that's what keeps me here. I spent the last 3 years, I've insisted on transparency in the government. I've insisted on transparency and establishing a more open government. We have gone to great lengths to get the word out through non-traditional media. We use online newspaper to get the word out. We all have Facebook accounts. The town has moved into the media age. We've seen a lot of great strides in these last 3 years, and everything it really came from that ice storm and the lessons learned there. So that's what got me here. What I plan on doing is keeping integrity is on the table. I feel like I bring integrity to the table. I try to encourage a positive atmosphere in our meetings and keep the negative politics out of this town business, because at the end of the day, we are all here for one reason, and it's to ensure that the residents of the town of Holden have the greatest quality of life possible, and everybody can live their lives. So I want to thank everyone that supported me over the last 3 years, and I'd ask that you support me again with my bid to run for selectman or re-elected selectman on May 14th. A good selectman, in my opinion, has to be accessible. I spent the first 3 years here holding office hours, getting out to meet people. You have to be willing to put the time in to meet with the constituents. I think too often, and very infrequently, too often the elected officials don't make it to, they don't have office hours. They're only accessible by email or phone. In a small town like Holden, I think it's good business. You owe it to the people. You get there, you see them face to face, you shake their hand, you look them in the eye, and you tell them exactly what you think, and you don't sugarcoat it. It's not politics, it's representation of the people. Another attribute, I think, for a selectman, you need to be willing to learn. I came on this job as a selectman almost 3 years ago, and I'll tell you that there's a lot of information you need to know. I learned water and sewer. It's been my passion here for 3 years, and fortunately, I'll tell you that we've finally straightened out our water and sewer enterprise fund. It's gone from an account that has been negative balance every year to an account that is going to show a positive balance. It's going to help us stabilize rates, and we won't be coming back to the ratepayers every 6 months with an emergency rate hike. I'm very proud of that fact, but I didn't know anything about water and sewer when I came on, and I spent the first year learning all about it, and the next year helping solve the problems. In the third year, we passed everything we needed to pass to straighten that account out. And that goes for the trash, electricity. I mean, trash, you believe it or not, trash in our town is a $1.1 million enterprise fund. It's paid for entirely out of the rates, and there's a lot to learn about trash. I didn't know about it, and I did. So you have to have a willingness to learn, and if you're not willing to put the time in and study, and my wife will tell you that on vacation I'll usually have some kind of town literature out, and I'm working on something, just trying to brush up for the next big issue and the next big debate. And I think the last thing I'd say for anybody that wants to take this job is you need to be willing to listen to everyone's opinion and go to the debate. Go to your debates without your mind made up. I think too often there's elected officials show up and they've already dug in. They already know what they're going to say, and they already know how they're going to vote. I may have an inclination, I may be leaning one way or the other, but when I get to a debate. I really want to hear both sides of the argument, and I want to make my final decision and my final vote based on all the information available at that time. So those are the top three things off the top of my head I say that you really want to have here for this job. I hate to sit here and brag, but I'm dedicated to a fair and open government. I'm insisting on reasonable spending. I hold all public figures accountable, elected or appointed or hired. They're all accountable to us. Over the last 3 years, I've maintained fair and stable rates here in this town, or at least as much as I can as a selectman, insisted on fair and stable rates. I represent all residents equally. That goes from the youngest resident born yesterday to our most senior of residents. They all have equal representation in this government. And I'll tell you that I'll never compromise my integrity. I won't cave to political pressures. I stand by my record. I go to every meeting and I attack every issue the same way. I want to learn as much as I can about it and make an informed decision. I take input from everyone out there, anybody that has a right to this government, any constituent, and they come see me, I go and I meet with them, and I take what they say very serious, but at the end of the day, I make a decision that's best for the entire town and best for all the residents. And sometimes you don't make friends that way, and it's bad politics, but I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a person charged with representing all the people of this town.
If you're reelected as
one of my top priorities is going to be change the atmosphere of our government. I want to remind everyone from the management to my fellow select board members to anybody that collects a dime or works on behalf of this government that the local government is here to work for the people. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think sometimes some of my peers forget that. I try to very politely remind them, but it needs to be important, and we all need to understand that we exist to represent the people. The people own this government. The people are our bosses, and that'd be one driving factor this year is to make sure that happens. Another is to continue with to encourage the stabilization and the responsible budgeting that we've seen in the last 2 years now, 2 or 3 years. Over the course of my 3 years, we've this year we're presenting a budget that's coming in under Proposition 2.5. We have a 2.25% increase in our tax rate, and with that, we're going to see no loss to essential services. We're going to maintain the same level, if not better, of our essential services. Schools are going to see, I think we budgeted for over a 3% increase to our school allocation this year. I think fully funding our senior center for our most experienced residents and senior residents, and funding the schools and funding for everybody in between, but responsibly. And I want to encourage that with the town management. Our current town manager is doing that, and it's great to see. We've got the stabilization in place. We have a plan to increase stabilization. We hope to not have any more last-minute rate increases or last-minute emergencies, and it's good business, and I'm very proud of the fact that we've taken the steps to go ahead and do that.